Hey guys, what's up? My name is Anthony. Welcome to another edition of, actually, now I'm thinking about it, this is a new series. This is the mini BNA football podcast. I did it last season where I do rankings of different teams, but I want to have 3 or 4 different segments where I discuss rankings, react to lists, have some player spotlights here and there. We'll probably do that next episode, but this will come out hopefully twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, because I want to pump out a bunch of content because I have a lot of opinions about different things, and I haven't really been doing that. I'm taking 1 or 2 days off every once in a while. I'm like, you know what? I'm starting to backlog with this content, so I'm just going to come out all in one video instead of like an hour-long video. Let's do it in like a 20 to 30-minute video. Sound fun? No? Okay, but we're continuing anyway. So my first segment is top 5 running back yards for the 2020 season. This is a bit of a fantasy preview, you can say. I'm not the number one fantasy guy. If you're coming to me for fantasy, just leave. There's so many other smarter people than me, but I'm going to offer my insight with the top 5 running backs as far as yards. And now this is not like, getting it right. I'm trying to be right here. I'm trying to, guess the actual ranking. So last year, it was Nick Chubb at number 2, Derrick Henry at number 1. We all know Derrick Henry signed his contract. Nick Chubb is still feisty. He's still trying to fight, for his next contract, or his first contract. And he has Kareem Hunt, but I don't think that Kareem Hunt is going to be a major impact. I think, I'm looking at Kareem Hunt, it seems like he lost a little bit of a step. I think Nick Chubb is a top 7 running back in the league. He may even be a top 5 running back in the league. I think he's a little bit underrated. I think he's going to be number 1 in yards. And to take a look at that scheme fit with the Browns, Baker Mayfield, Kevin Stefanski, they like to do a lot of play action and things like that. I think that could potentially limit him with yards. But they're going to be winning in a lot of games. I think they're going around 9-7 this year. So you're going to run a lot. And that's going to be a theme throughout this entire video. Good teams run the ball. And Kevin Stefanski and that Vikings offense, they ran the ball a decent bit. Now, it wasn't top in the league, but it was decent enough in the league. And now you take a look at the Browns schedule. Obviously, they have the in-division opponents with the Ravens and the Steelers that have a great rush defense. I think the Bengals are below average as far as rush defense. They also play the Cowboys, who I don't think are going to have a good run defense. And, you play the Raiders, Texans, Eagles, Jaguars, Titans. None of those teams really have amazing run defenses per se. Maybe the Texans, but I think that Nick Chubb should play pretty well, and he should rack up those yards, especially in the end of the season. He's going to be around 1,600 yards. That's my projection for him. Next, Josh Jacobs. A report came out today that he wants 60 catches this next year, which is a little bit concerning with my projections, but I don't think their backups are any good. Your Washingtons of the world, they have the Bowden guy from Kentucky, but I think that Josh Jacobs is going to be the bell cow back. They have new receiver weapons, but Josh Jacobs, he showed that he could be the leading back for this team. They picked him in the first round. They're going to use him. And he's in the prime of his career. Prime of your career running backs even starts in the first year. So I think Josh Jacobs will do that. He's going to be around 1,500 yards. I'm not sure why I'm giving the exact projection total. I think he's going to be number 2. Next, I have Jonathan Taylor. I felt like I had to include a rookie here. Colts say that they're going to use the hot hand, whoever's rushing the best, whether it be Marlon Mack, or Jonathan Taylor. And I feel like I'm missing one of their running backs. But, I think that these are the 2 main guys anyway. So, you take a look at Jonathan Taylor. His prime is going to be year 1. He's 4-year starter in college. I think that they're going to rely heavily on him. Take a look at this offensive line, the best in the league. And you're going to run right behind Quentin Nelson, right behind Braden Smith, and who's there? I forgot the name of their center, but Ryan Kelly. But he's going to be solid for them. I think Taylor has a breakout season. We see this rookies can lead the league in rushing. We saw that with Saquon Barkley. We saw that with Ezekiel Elliott. So it's not out of the question. I think Christian McCaffrey also was very high when in his rookie year. So I wouldn't be surprised if Taylor is high on this list. I have him at number 3. Next, number 4, I have Saquon Barkley. Now, teams may start stacking the box. I don't trust our right tackle in Cameron Fleming, most likely. Teams are, Saquon Barkley is a right-handed back, so he's going to want to go to that right-handed side to stiff-arm people. That's what I heard. It's not really my own analysis, but it was kind of true. I listened to the point. I'm like, Saquon Barkley may not have the best season because of that right tackle. Like, we want to run to the right side a little bit more, but our offensive line, I would say, is improved from last year. I think Andrew Thomas is a step up from Nate Solder, and Nate Solder sucked in the run game. Actually, no, he wasn't that bad, but so to say Saquon Barkley, he's just good, and he's going to be using this scheme a lot. Daniel Jones is going to be relying on him a lot to rush because he's going to be learning this new offense. And with, right off the bat, you have the 49ers, Steelers, and Bears. I think we're going to look to establish the run game in those games. And then you take a look at the rest of the division. We don't really have that many good run defense besides, if you want to say, the Washington football team. I call myself there, see? And we also play the NFC North. Those have good rush defense, but I think Saquon Barkley is good. That's what I'm trying to say. But it may get a little rough. But I'm a Giants fan. I have to include him in the top 5 because I said he'd get over 2,220 yards. And then Alvin Kamara was a late addition because he was injured last year. Now, if he gets injured again, obviously he's not going to be high on this list. I don't think that they're going to use the Latavius Murray a lot. I think that they're going to use a Kamara a lot, see what he is, to see if they want to give him a contract now or just franchise tag him. I think it may be kind of like one of those situations with how the Cowboys used I forget his name, but how they used their running back from a couple years ago and just run him into the ground and say, hey, we can't trust your injuries. We're going to start franchise tagging you. I think that Alvin Kamara could have a great year. Again, I'm trying to be right. I'm not saying this is the top 5 running backs. And quickly, I want to mention some, and with the Saints too, they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. Hello, Cesar Ruiz. Hello. It's just a bunch of talent on this, offensive line. Ryan Ramczyk, different things like that. And plus, don't forget that they drafted Eric McCoy last year. And McCaffrey's not going to be on this list because they're going to use him in the pass game a lot more, I believe, with a Teddy Bridgewater. And they're going to be down in a lot of games, so you're not really going to be rushing. Same thing I would say for a Leonard Fournette. The team sucks. And then no Aaron Jones because they're going to stack the box against him because Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a lot of weapons besides of Devontae Adams. And he also brought in a, what's his name? The guy from Boston College. Why am I just forgetting names today? I don't know why. But then you also have Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, and Dalvin Cook that I'm not including because is Dalvin Cook playing? No Derrick Henry. I think he's going to be just on the outside of this. I think he takes a little bit of step back. He was the rushing leader last year. No Mark Ingram because they have so many guys, Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, different players like that. And I think that they're going to, Lamar Jackson even. So those guys are going to kind of cancel each other out. Then I was also thinking about Chris Carson. I think that they're going to rely on Russell Wilson just a tad bit more this year because they saw that he's one of the MVP. He was the MVP candidate last year. And they're like, yeah, let's probably rely on this guy a little bit more. You have DK Metcalf in that second year. And then Miles Sanders, he's going to be good. I think he's an up-and-comer. He's going to be in the top 10, I believe, this year. The offensive line is teetering. We'll see how Jason Peters does at that guard position. Matt Breida, really fast. But they also have Jordan Howard, not too sure how they're going to split there. And Ezekiel Elliott, one of those things like Derrick Henry, I don't think he's going to be that good this year. I think they're going to use him a little bit more in the pass game in that Mike McCarthy offense. I'm just not sure how they're exactly how they're going to use him. That's why I don't have him in my top 5. So that's my top 5 running backs. The next topic I want to talk about is my over-unders, basically. Not over-unders, like my ceilings and floors. There you go. So these are my ceilings and floors. Basically, how good the team could be and how bad the team could be based on their certain situation. Now, this is going to be a pretty long segment. So, sit in, enjoy, eat your popcorn, go take a water break, and come back. And, so the Chiefs are my number 1 in my power rankings. I have their floor at 10 wins and their ceiling at 14. Even if they do lose Patrick Mahomes due to COVID, which is also a scenario in every one of these situations. I'm not going to mention COVID a lot in this segment. Sorry. I'm just sick and tired of people mentioning it. And it's obvious that things can happen. So 10 is really the floor with them. They have a pretty easy schedule, but I can see kind of like a Super Bowl hangover. We see some teams after the Super Bowl, like the Packers, with 15 wins. And we also see teams that struggle a little bit in the beginning, like maybe in the Falcons who went to the Super Bowl and lost. But yeah, the Chiefs are going to be fine. Their over-under wins is 11.5. I'd take the over for them. I think it's pretty safe. Same thing with the Ravens, 9-13, 9-13. I think that they can win as few as 9 games, and that's if the defenses really do figure them out, and they start losing running backs, they start losing that offensive line depth. But I trust Wink Martindale. Really, that 9 should be bumped up to a 10. I'm not sure where I had that 9. I'll probably, in post-production, put that to a 10. I don't think they can lose that many more than that game, win that many less than that amount of games. I think I said that right. So, they're in the AFC North. So you have the Steelers, you have the Browns, but the Bengals aren't really much worth to talk about. And then you play the NFC East. The Bucs, I have them at 8-12. You can really start picturing that offense struggling and lay a little flat, kind of like what the Browns did last year. I don't love that comparison because I think they have a great head coach, but you can kind of see that. Does Tom Brady gel with his wide receivers? I think their offensive line is good enough. I think their cornerbacks take a little bit of step back, but 8-12. And their over-under is 9.5. I'm not touching that. Next, the Saints. I have their floor at 9-13. I could just see this team being old. Marcus Davenport, is he really going to develop? Take a look at that secondary. Don't love Patrick Robinson. Is his name Patrick Robinson? I don't know. But, I don't love him more than the average person does. You lost in Eli Apple, but you have a Janoris Jenkins, so it's not going to be awful. You brought in Malcolm Jenkins as that safety, so it's a lot of experience, but you can also see them losing some games because of their age and things like that. No fans in the stands because of COVID. That really hurts them as far as home field advantage by like a point or two a game. And that's worth probably a half a loss. So, and the next, the 49ers, about the same. They're at 9-12, 10.5 wins over under as well. I'd kind of stay away from these both teams unless you're really, really confident. But both teams have really good coaches, and good coaches are going to thrive in this era. Again, 49ers Super Bowl hangover. You lost one of your best defensive tackles, but you replaced them pretty well. I think Richard Sherman takes a huge step back, and teams can just light them up as far as passing. Don't be surprised if that Giants-49ers game is 40-42. I'm saying that right now. People think it may be a low-scoring game. Next in my rankings, I had the Steelers. I have them winning as few as 7 games. I can see this team completely disintegrating. You have a bunch of old players on that offensive line. It seems like the offensive line is trending down. Did the defense overperform expectations? But TJ Watt's elite on that. He's good. Devin Bush is in his second year. I can see this team also just rolling and, being that one of those number 1 seeds like the Falcons that just surprises everybody. They have good coaching. Wide receivers, you really want to see them take a step up next year. Their over-under is 9.5. I'm staying away from that. I'm also going to come out with a full over-under video. This is kind of just my thoughts. 7th in my power rankings is the Bills. I have their ceiling at 11 wins and their floor at 8. I can see I always say I can see, but Josh Allen, he could struggle this year. He did really well on third downs, really smart, knew where to place the ball with those plays. But his downfield accuracy, is it going to be good next year? You have Stephon Diggs, who's a pinpoint route runner, and he can get frustrated a little bit with Josh Allen and getting the ball. Kirk Cousins was more accurate than a Josh Allen, so Stephon Diggs could get a little frustrated. They don't have amazing weapons, but you take a look at that defensive line. It's a top 10 defensive line in the league. Your defense, the corner's fairly solid. And so I think the Bills are going to be a good team. And their over-under is 9. I'd lean over. Because you're in this division with the Patriots and whatever. So it's kind of weird saying you're in the division with the Patriots. You're in pretty good shape. But next, the Titans. I have their floor at 7 and their ceiling at 10. And realistically, they're going to have 9 wins. And their over-under is actually 9. If they get Jadeveon Clowney, I'd take the over right away. It shows that they're looking to compete this year. Signed Derrick Henry, signed some big contracts in the offseason, but lost their offensive coordinator. Does that have a problem for them? I don't know. But, this is just a mediocre average team. People have them at 5-11, 4-12. I don't understand this. This roster is really good. Their cornerbacks could be better, but I like the Titans. I have them at 8th in my power rankings. Next, the Eagles, fairly the same. I just have them a little bit of a higher ceiling than the Titans because they have a lot of weapons on that offense that could just explode, and their offensive line isn't as bad as I was giving them credit for in the beginning, but their defense is pretty bad, and I can see this team, Carson Wentz gets injured, different thing like that. Jalen Hurts comes in, gives them a couple wins, so I think 7-11 is fairly solid. Their over-under is 9.5. I am not touching that. And you may be like, oh, Anthony, you just have the balls, make a bet. You do this. You put your money on the line. I've already put some bets on some certain teams, and one of them was the Browns, by the way. So the Seahawks, I have them at their floor at 8, but their ceiling at 10. I think this is a very narrow team. They're looking to compete this year, but as far as their roster goes and how they played, they were an 8-win team. They won 4 games above their expectation last year based on how they played. Their over-under is 9.5. I'd lean towards the under here. You're in a really good division. that, the Seahawks feel like they have the 49ers number, but the Cardinals feel like they have the Seahawks number. So it's going to be very hard for the Seahawks to win a bunch of games this year. You play the NFC East, I understand they suck, whatever you want to say about them. But I think, Seahawks lose their home field advantage, which wasn't really that great for them last year, but they still have a home field advantage like that. Next in my power rankings is the Patriots. Why are they up this high? I swear they were lower, but I have their floor at 6. You can see this team really just quit. A lot of times it's like, oh, this team's not going to quit. Yeah, what happens with the Golden State Warriors? One player goes down, a whole bunch of things. Basketball's a little bit different, but I think you guys understand. But they can win as many as 10 games. You still have talent on the offensive line. Joe Thuney, Isaiah Wynn. I'm not too sure who's going to start at right tackle. Yanni Kajuste, maybe? I don't know how to quite pronounce his name, but I'm not too sure exactly who's going to start on the offensive line. But you have decent weapons with Mohamed Sanu, and Bill Belichick is just going to bring players in. He's going to bring in like a Jadeveon Clowney. We're going to be like, okay, Yannick Ngakoue. I just see this team just picking up players just for like a one-year rental or something like that, but I also see them tanking really bad like a Colin Cowherd thinks. The Broncos, I have them at 6 wins to 9 wins. Nice, right? But I think Jawan James' loss is very substantial. Their tackle, I think that's going underreported. I think there's a real problem there. You have rookie offensive weapons that are not really familiar with his Patrick Shermer system. And their defense, it underperformed a bit last year. And you lost to Chris Harris Jr. I get it, people like Justin Simmons, but I don't know. This defense, I'm looking at Bradley Chubb, didn't look good before he got injured. Von Miller is getting older. Time's ticking, but they got Shelby Harris. So I think that they won't be horrible. So their ceiling, I think, is at 9 wins. I don't think they have a chance to win this division. Next is the Bears. Have them their floor at 6, but their ceiling at 10. You can see this team really unraveling, maybe even 4 or 5. But I'm a residential Bears fan. I have them their floor at 6 wins. Their over under is 8. I wouldn't touch this. I'd also lean under for the Patriots. Should have mentioned that before. And then the Vikings at 6 to 9 wins. Again, nice. But Kirk Cousins, does he struggle without Kevin Stefanski? You still have Gary Kubiak, and he's kind of teaching them. He's kind of keeping things under wraps. But they have a lot of young talent that they have. And there are a couple other pointers that I wish I remembered about the Vikings. But you know what? They had their playoff success last year, and is it kind of like, oh yeah, we did it. We finally overcame, and then they kind of just give up, like. I think you guys understand what I'm saying, but they had like 50 million draft picks, and a lot of them are young, obviously, because they're draft picks. So that's going to be interesting there. Lost a bunch of depth on their team. Next, the Browns, 8.5. I have them at 8 to 11 wins. I'd bet the over. Kevin Stefanski is probably in the worst position as a new head coach. You have Matt Rule that is used to the college system, no padded practice, things like that, no preseason games. But Stefanski seems like he might be a little bit lost, so be wary about the Browns, but they have so much talent all over their team. Denzel Ward was a number 4 overall pick, and he feels like he's going to come up this year and, perform really well. They've been drafting safeties over the past couple years to try to replace the Jabril Peppers. So I think they're going to be solid. And I didn't really talk much about the Bears, but you have some opt-outs on the defensive line. May struggle with that, but their backs are against the wall. So, they're one. I'm going to make a list later, like teams with backs against the wall, teams that I can really see really over-exceeding expectations. That's going to be in another episode of this BNA Sports mini-series. And then we'll end it at 16 because I feel like I'm going a little bit long. The Raiders, I have them at 5 to 10 wins. They could be a top 10 pick this year. And a lot of people have them ranked in low 20s for their power rankings, but they have so much talent on this team. I think John Gruden is a good coach. He's going to make them gel well all together. He's going to make them play hard because they're young, and young teams that play hard usually are successful. And that goes for the NBA, that goes for football, but maybe in this COVID era, maybe not quite. But Derek Carr, he has something to prove. Even Marcus Mariota, if he comes in, I think he can win a couple games there. They hit their over-under is 7.5. Me personally, I'm leaning over. But, take a look at this division. It is pretty rough. But that's my number 16 ranking. We're halfway through, so I'm going to move on to my last segment of this video. And, let's go. All right, and welcome to the last segment. So this segment, I want to talk about the remaining 10 free agents and where they can go. I'm a Giants fan, and some of these guys are mentioned with the Giants. I'm not talking about Yannick Ngakoue, although it would be kind of interesting to see where he goes. I don't think he's going to play this year. To be totally honest with you, I think he's going to be one of those holdout, sit-out years. But, so you have Cameron Wake, who a lot of people aren't mentioning. It wasn't in the top 10 list for CBS. I'm like, this guy has been productive throughout his entire career. He's a little bit old, a little bit frail and injured, but I can definitely see a team like the Patriots just picking him up. They've already done that in this offseason with Cam Newton and somebody else the other day that I forgot. But, we've seen them just pick up random guys like, oh, shit, it's them again. And because nobody else wants them, and then when they join the Patriots, it's just like, oh, Bill Belichick's going to turn them into an all-pro. I wonder why you haven't picked up a Cameron Wake yet. I understand you have a Lawrence Guy. You want to develop guys like an Anthony Jennings, a Chase Winovich on that pass rush. I'm like, why not bring in a Cameron Wake? You got rid of Chandler Jones, and now he's great, so why not bring in a guy like that? I think Cameron Wake should join the Patriots. I have him slotted at the Patriots. Some other free agents that are still on the list are, Everson Griffin. That's a top one that people are talking about. He's kind of falling down in his career. He's a candidate to join a team like the Eagles, who have a Fletcher Cox and things like that. But do they really have a great pass rush anymore? I think that he could potentially join that team. It's players that I don't think they're going to join any team are Eric Reed. I think that, with Carolina, you saw last year, he's done. He's definitely done. And next you have Mike Daniels, who was impressive with the Green Bay Packers. I thought the Lions had a steal, but he is not that good. You have Clay Matthews, who played with the Rams last year. He wasn't horrible. He wasn't as bad as he wasn't as good as a lot of people said, but he wasn't as bad as I thought he would be. So you have Matthews, but I don't think an old linebacker is really fitting with any team anymore. They're looking for young guys. They're looking for up-and-coming guys, and especially in this COVID year, bring up guys coming up next year. You can say he's a proven commodity, but I don't really think any team is going to risk taking a chance with Clay Matthews. And then you have two receivers, Brown and Gordon. Now, the top teams, I listed them out earlier. Most of them feel like they have their guys. Most of them are like, okay, we have our guys set. This is it. You have Tampa Bay, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. We're good. And then you also you have other teams like the Seahawks and the Packers, who I think the Packers don't want to deal with that BS. I was thinking the Seahawks and the Ravens are the two teams where it's just like, okay, if a player goes down, and especially with the Seahawks, I think that the Russell Wilson is going to be used more this year. They haven't said that, but I just have an inkling. They don't really trust their wide receivers. You have DK Metcalf, who's dropping balls all over the place. Tyler Lockett is decent, but none of them are really that great to you want to write home about, I guess. And yeah, so then the bottom teams, they don't want to bring in a guy with a bunch of personality. The Bengals have a pretty solid wide receiver core. You have Carolina, who feels like we have DJ Moore, we have Robbie Anderson, so they're pretty good in that way. The 49ers are an interesting team, but they decided not to bring in an Odell Beckham Jr., so are they going to do that? You obviously have the Steelers, who dealt with an Antonio Brown type personality. Obviously, the Browns have their top two guys, but really after that, Donald Peoples-Jones, are you sure that he's going to be a top guy after that? But they already dealt with a Josh Gordon. The Raiders may do it. The Raiders are a sneaky candidate. They have a bunch of guys that they brought in this just past offseason, and you still have Tyrell Williams, and things like that. So I think that he could be an option there. I think that could be interesting if one of their guys goes down. So the Raiders are interesting, but John Gruden has an advanced playbook. We all know that. The Eagles are a sneaky team that could bring in any sort of guy whatsoever. You're not too sure what they're going to do. They may bring in one of these free agents. Their books aren't good for the next coming years, so it's going to be a short deal. It's going to be a win now. One of their wide receivers goes down, Jalen Reagor goes down, Deshaun Jackson again goes down. They can bring in a guy to potentially fit in a role like an Antonio Brown. But we'll see about that as far as their discipline. I think Doug Peterson's a little bit loose as far as that sort of thing. The Saints feel like they have wide receivers, all torn up. So in the end, I think that it feels Antonio Brown to the Seahawks is right. After he serves his 8-game suspension, he's going to join them. Josh Gordon, I'm leaning towards a no. You have the Vikings that could be an interesting fit with him and Kirk Cousins. In that offense, just play action, just throw to him, kind of get rid of him and Justin Jefferson could play on each other a little bit because they have similar strengths. And, I think that Josh Gordon would be the best wide receiver on that team day one. So that could be very interesting if the Vikings are fading towards the end of the year. And, that's pretty much it. The Colts feel like they're pretty solid there. It's going to be a very specific scenario that I don't see that they're going to do. And that's pretty much it for all the free agents. Logan Ryan is going to be definitely interesting. I guess the interesting is like the fallback. Oh, it's going to be interesting. The Giants, I guess should pick him up, but I'm a Giants fan, so I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure if we're going to do it. Joe Judge I don't really see him doing that. They're bringing in a high type flight guy who wants to get paid $10 million a year. I think we're going to save the Bucs and just develop the guys for now. Work with the personnel we have now. I think there's going to be a bunch of minor moves for the rest of the season. The Jets, apparently they were thinking about getting Logan Ryan. Apparently the deal was almost done. Again, I'll just say Logan Ryan to the Jets. It's not really a Bill Belichick type scheme fit, but I don't see him joining another Bill Belichick disciple like a Bill O'Brien, like a Brian Flores or something like that. I think that Logan Ryan, it feels like all those types of players just go to the Jets. You know, kind of like the retreads and things like that. They are missing their cornerback that they had to cut, and you definitely do need some secondary help after the loss of Jamal Adams. But those are my predictions. Let me know what you guys think. Am I wrong with any of those? And definitely let me know your guys' opinions about all the topics we discussed in this video. Finally, Freddie Freeman. I forgot to mention him. I can see him joining the Seahawks if you get a Chris Carson that gets hurt again. And I don't think, obviously, he's not going to join the Falcons again. But all around the league, what team really doesn't like their running back situation? Miami's just solved theirs. The Bills feel good. The Bears feel good. Maybe not. Maybe they can bring him in to back up Dave Montgomery if he gets injured. But you can't forecast injuries. It's really hard. I don't think if Freeman's going to get a starting job. I think he's going to wait towards next year. And yeah, but I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know guys' opinions about all the topics we discussed in this video. I'd like to know, are there any teams where it's just glaring obvious that I missed? Because I'm taking a look at this list, and I'm like, I don't really see that many spots for some of these guys. But I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.